Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Burnt Pancakes podcast. I'm your host, Katie Fensky, reminding moms that everyone burns their first pancake. Now, before we get to today's incredible guest, let's talk a little bit about poop. Okay, I know, I'm sorry, but as someone with young kids and working as a potty training consultant, this is actually something that comes up a lot. And today's podcast sponsor is here to help. If you are in the trenches of potty training or you're just trying to keep your little one's tummy happy, you need to check out Growing Up Prebiotics from Begin Health. This high quality, gentle blend of prebiotics is designed to support your toddler's and young child's developing gut microbiome, helping with digestive comfort, regularity, and softer stools, because no one likes dealing with those rock hard surprises. Give your kiddo's tummy a boost it needs and make potty training and just general daily poop a little bit easier. I am giving it to my son, and I have seen a huge difference in this area. Use code It's Potty Time for 10% off your purchase at Begin Health, because a happy gut means a happy kid. Now, back to today's conversation. Today, we're diving into motherhood, identity, and the unexpected twists life throws our way. My guest today is Jamie Townsend. She is a internationally recognized watercolor artist, a storyteller across multiple mediums, and now an author. Her debut novel, Absorbed, is a coming of age 90s story that bridges the gap between Gen X moms and their Gen Z daughters. But beyond her creativity work, Jamie's journey is one so many moms can relate to, balancing the chaos of mothering teens while also stepping into that role of unexpected caregiver for aging parents. She's here to share her insights on navigating those challenging seasons, the surprising lessons she's learned over motherhood, and how prioritizing creativity can help moms reconnect to themselves. If you've ever felt like you're losing yourself in the daily grind of motherhood or struggling to get your teens to actually talk to you, this episode is a gem. So please enjoy my conversation with Jamie. Jamie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here, Katie.
Yes, I think I'm going to pick your brain about a lot of teen stuff and just the point of life you're in right now. So I'm excited to hear your insights. But before we start, why don't you tell us how old your kids are, where you're from?
I live in Southern California in Seal Beach, and I have one daughter who's 18, about to graduate high school, and another who's 16. She just got her driver's license a couple days ago. And yeah, I have been on this wild ride of parenthood, figuring it out as I go, just like you. So
Right. Like I would think like, oh, when my kids are that age, I'm going to be that experienced mom, but it's almost like you're a new mom all over again. It's a whole new stage that you're navigating and trying to figure out.
it really is. Every stage is a new life lesson for me
Mhm.
as they're figuring out their own lives.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, like I always worry that like that little baby, that little kid stage, I'm like, I'm just going to miss it so much. But I feel like each stage, there's so much fun. Like I do miss when they were little, but I'm like, there's so much like I'm enjoying about them being older that I didn't think I would. That surprised
I
me.
I completely agree with you. There are definitely those glimmer moments at
Mhm.
every stage, and there's those
The
frustrating
hard.
moments at every stage too, for sure.
Yes. Anytime I'm frustrated, I go back and be like, remember when you weren't sleeping and I was up at 5 in the morning? I'm just going to enjoy
Oh
this right
yes.
now.
Oh yes.
Totally. Okay. Well, your journey as a mom and an artist, now an author, has kind of taken some unexpected turns, probably not what you thought your life would be. What was the moment that pushed you to shift from being a stay-at-home mom to becoming an unexpected caregiver?
Oh, so our family in 2014, and I'm sure you can, and a lot of your listeners can attest to this. In 2014, I had a second grader and a kindergartner, and I had just accepted a position at their school to just work part time. I was finally
Oh,
going to go back to working, and I was
how
like,
awesome.
yay, a little time for me. We lived in
Hmm.
Pasadena at the time, and it was a private school, so it would help with their tuition also that I worked there. And we had notification the day after school started that we had to move out of the rental we were in. So we decided at that point, we really talked and thought a lot about our choices, and we decided to make the big shift from Pasadena to a beach community where they had great public schools, but that meant we would be picking up and moving 2 months into the school year, and we would be getting to know a whole new school district and friends and everything. And then 2 weeks before we moved, we lost my grandmother, who I was very close to. And 2 days before we moved, we lost my father-in-law.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so we were in the midst of this just really, crisis moment and dealing with a lot of grief. And we came to Seal Beach, and I had to give up that job that I was trying to have a little time to do adulting things. And sadly, that was the beginning of 6 years of loss. We lost 8 people in those 6 years, and some of them to very hard to deal with terminal illness. One of them being my stepfather from Parkinson's. He passed away in January of 2020.
My dad
Oh,
had Parkinson's.
oh,
It's
so
a,
hard to watch.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you keep going, but yes,
Yeah, well, yeah. And then my stepsister, his daughter, at the exact same time that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, she was diagnosed with ALS, and she passed away after 7 years in 2019. And so being a caregiver to them, and my father was also hospitalized for about 4 months before he passed away. In addition to being a caregiver for my children and really trying to hold it all together with all this grief that then was bookended by the pandemic hitting.
Oh my God.
Like my stepdad
Give
died
me a
in
break
January.
already.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot to get all
Yes.
like year after year and loss after loss. And I really tried to, I went to therapy. I had a great therapist who helped me work through a lot of my grief. And I was walking the dogs every day, listening to books and podcasts, but none of it was really helping me with the constant hum of anxiety and stress and grief that was going through my whole body, because I was just pouring out to everyone else in every way possible. And I wasn't filling my own cup. I was doing what people told me to do, but I wasn't really doing what my soul, my spirit really was calling for. So in in July of 2020, after doom scrolling like all of us were to try and
Survive.
deal with everything, I kept seeing these Let's Make Art ads. And Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art was saying on social media, anyone can learn to watercolor, and there's free tutorials on YouTube. And I decided to sit down and try it. And what I gave myself in setting that time aside to learn how to watercolor, first with one lesson every 2 weeks, then with a lesson every week, then maybe a lesson every day, was time to reconnect with my creative self. And that time actually gave me back so much peace. Those activities of just sitting there and focusing on something beautiful and putting it to paper with a brush was the meditative breathing that you do naturally when you're doing a creative act like that, the focus on something beautiful and positive, and that I wasn't doing it for any other purpose than just the process, just the joy of it. There was no deliverable expected at the end. And as Sarah says, it's just a piece of paper. So if you hate it, you can just throw it away. And it was so freeing to me that shift in my perspective on how I was spending my time really changed everything about the way that I mothered and the way that I was a wife and a daughter and a caregiver to the people around me, because I started really making that time for myself, and it gave me so much energy and joy to pour out to others as well.
Oh my gosh, that's a fascinating. A few things came up that I thought of. I was recently listening to, I wish I knew the name of the book, but a book that talks about how using the creative side of your brain helps with anxiety.
It really
And
is.
it was such, like, she goes into the science of it and why that happens, which is fascinating. But it made me like think, yeah, like if you put time into yourself and you get to that creative side. So I have recently picked up embroidery. I got a kit over Christmas and it had the video tutorials because I just thought like, oh, that looks like a fun thing to try. I cannot tell you how much I'm enjoying it. And you're right, how relaxed I feel. It puts my phone down so I'm not scrolling at night.
Mhm.
And I just kind of you're right. There's no, this has to be a project that I'm selling or doing. It's like I'm just doing it to do it. It's fun, it's relaxing, enjoyable. And I have now since completed like 4 projects, and it is kind of like my me time now. I love that.
It's so good. I mean, I get a lot from going to yoga. I get a lot from going to breakfast with my girlfriends. But there's nothing quite as restorative as really just sitting and doing a creative act, even for 5 minutes. So
Mhm.
from that point in 2020, I've really shifted how I start my day. Instead of picking up the phone and scrolling through it, I start with 3 pages of journaling just to clear my brain of all that stuff that's running around in it and stressing me out. And then I do a quick sketch in my sketchbook, and I'll even watercolor it. But just to start my day on that better place
Mhm.
of peace and gratitude and joy for the ability to actually do creative things is such a gift
Right.
that anybody really can find time for. And I think it really has helped me so much.
Right. Were you always like drawn to art as a kid, or this is something that
I
is new
I
to you?
was actually a really academic person. I was really good at school, and I was really encouraged to be very academic because I was good at it. But I was surrounded by artists. So my grandmother that passed away in 2014 was she had gotten a dual master's in mathematics and fine art, and
Wow.
her daughter, my mom's twin sister and aunt, is an English teacher and an artist, and my other stepsister was also an artist as I was growing up. So I was always surrounded by it. I was always intrigued by it. And I always considered myself crafty, but I
Hmm.
didn't think of myself as an artist until just a couple years ago, because I thought that you had to be someone formally trained to be an artist.
Major in it. Yeah.
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 And I've since accepted that if you create anything, you are an artist. So a baker is an artist because
Hmm.
they are creating. And my husband is exceptional at spreadsheets. He can make a spreadsheet do anything. And that is an act of creativity and
That is
art.
talent. Yes.
Yes, it
And
really
I envy people who are like that. My husband's the same way. He's
is.
very, yes. He can pack for a camping trip. Like I'll see all the stuff out and I'm like, there's no way this is ever going to fit. And he can Tetris it into our bag. Yeah.
I
It's
love
a
that.
gift.
Yes.
Is that your artwork behind you?
Yes, this is some of my artwork. So as I told you, I started watercolor in 2020. So those two, actually all 3 of these, I painted only in 2021. So these are
Oh,
old ones for me, but that's a pet portrait of my dog Blondie.
cute.
That's one of the plumeria that was growing on our. We lived down on the boardwalk, and so our yard was our roof, and it was growing on our roof at that time.
Hmm.
And then I spent my Mother's Day of 2021 painting that for 8 hours, learning how to paint water drops because it's covered in thousands of water drops. So
Wow. Wow. And this
yeah.
is all just from like online tutorials that you took.
I started with tutorials, and it really opened my mind to learning more. And so I would do harder and longer
Hmm.
tutorials and more complicated techniques. And then as I was walking the dogs, I would take pictures of things. So yeah, that rose is a rose I passed on a walk. And I was just determined to figure out how to paint it. And so I just sat down and did it. And all of that then led to me actually being inspired to, because I was back to being a student and back to learning and creating. I ended up going back to get my master's in literature and writing in July of 2021. And by 15 months later, when I was finished, I had started the first 10,000 words of the book that has now become my debut novel,
That's
because it
amazing.
opened up my brain to all of these possibilities, and I was so invigorated by the creativity.
Wow. And this just shows like you don't have to do something in your 20s. Like you majored in this, like, I can be 40 something and start a podcast. Like that was not on my list of things to do when I was 20. I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your book. I'm going out of order from the questions
That's
I
all
planned
good.
because this is going. So your new book, your novel, Absorbed. It's a coming of age 90s story that bridges Gen Z moms with, no, Gen X moms. I'm always stuck
Yes.
in those with Gen Z daughters.
Yeah.
So how did that book come about? I love that idea. How did it come about?
Well, as a mom of two teenage girls and just determined to write my first novel, I really asked myself, as so many people are told to do, what do I know about that I can write a lot about? And
Yeah.
being around teenage girls, I can absolutely write about the experiences of teenage girls, what it feels like to be a teenage girl. I was that, but then I also see it daily.
Hmm.
And I also I wanted a setting that I had fond memories of and that I found a lot of kind of humor in as well. I happened to be a lifeguard in the 90s at a community pool way out in the boonies of San Bernardino County. And I always kind of felt like the environment where I worked was like Caddyshack a little bit.
Okay.
So
Oh, how
I
fun.
really thought like this is a great way to show my own teenage daughters and their friends that I get what they're going through because I can like really put it all out there in this story of this 17-year-old girl getting her first summer job with her crush, feeling insecure about putting on the bathing suit and how she's going to look every single day, having to walk around this pool in just a bathing suit, and crushing on her best guy friend at the same time, and how she rejects her mom's help and she gets herself into this big mess experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and her first sexual encounter is not what she hoped. And I wanted them to see that we understand it because we really lived through it.
Hmm.
And I wanted the Gen X moms to be drawn into this story that's so familiar to them, that's filled with the pop culture of our own teenage years. There's music,
Fun.
there's K-Rock playing in the
Oh,
background.
K-Rock. Yes.
Oh yeah, she's going to
Kevin and
shows.
Bean in the mornings. Yep.
Yes, the premiere of Independence Day on July 3rd.
Oh
Like
my
all
gosh.
of these things are happening that I knew would draw in the Gen X moms and then could maybe open that dialogue. Like, why wasn't Stacy talking to her mom in the beginning? And what did her mom actually offer? Was she gonna rip her apart and like punish her forever? Or was she really empathetic to what it's like to go through this experience? And because I'm the writer, I get to decide how it goes. So of course the mom is like empathetic and understands and had gone through her own bad experiences and helps her navigate how to get out of them. But I also had the joy of incorporating the watercolor into it and the sort of healing qualities of that experience, and a mentor teacher throughout the book as well, who helps get Stacy get an emotional and sort of artistic new perspective on things as well. So it was great to tie all of that into this one story that would hopefully bring together moms and daughters.
Oh, have your daughters read it yet?
So this is the funny thing. I don't know how much you follow like other, like celebrity people, but they always laugh. Like my wife and daughters don't watch my, Jason Bateman always
Mhm.
says, they don't take me seriously or whatever. Like so many celebrities say that. And my husband has been the greatest. He read the first draft. He read the
Oh,
whole second draft. He's been my greatest champion in all of this. My girls' friends have read it. My girls' friends' moms have read it, but I think they're just they've told me, they're like, Mom, we know that some of this is like drawn from your own experience, and we
mhm.
don't want
We
to
don't want to know.
imagine our mom in those scenarios.
Yes,
I get it. I get it. I
totally
think
get
we
it.
will someday, but
Right,
my
right.
nephew, though, my nephew is 16 and he read it as his outside reading for his honors English class. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow. Is the book meant for um like adults, or could it also be like a young adult book?
I would say it's an older young adult. She is
Okay.
17, the protagonist, and it's definitely meant for anyone who is coming of age or has come of age. So
Has.
I've had great feedback even from boomer moms who are now grandmas to teenagers,
I
but they
raised
were
kids
the mom
doing
at that
that.
age, and they were like,
Yes.
I was right there as the teenager's mom and wanting to shake her,
Yes.
like, wake up, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Well, the 90s
millennials.
are totally back in style now. So this
Oh,
is
yes.
like hitting perfect. Is that the cover in the background? That
Yes.
Okay, tell me about the cover because that is so cute.
So again, like having fallen in love with art and watercolor again, I last when the book was finished, I had this epiphany one day while walking the dogs. Everything, comes to me while I'm walking the dogs.
No, that is
Um,
where I heard you get lots of downloads when you're just quiet and out in nature. Yes.
Showers,
Mm-hmm.
walks, all
Yep.
these. Um, so I knew what I needed the book cover to be, and I just came home and I opened up Canva and I started putting it all together. And I was doing an art show in September, and I had it out, like, talk to me about this. And I got so much great feedback on it that when we were actually designing the cover for the book in October, my art director for the cover gave me 10 different suggestions of art. And I was like, I'm sorry, none of them are quite like mine. So she ended up using the art that I made and
No. So you did the
adapted it.
cover.
I did my own cover
I love,
with the
wait,
help
hold
of
it up again
someone.
for everyone on YouTube so they can see it. Hold up the cover again. It is so cute. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Thank you.
I actually follow someone on TikTok who is a book cover designer, and so
Mhm.
she'll go through and show like the 10 revisions to get to the final product. It's so interesting to see like how a book cover can transform, but I love that you had so much control over what's on the
It
cover.
was so wonderful because I mean, especially for my debut novel, I just have so
Mm-hmm.
much pride in looking at it and knowing that, this
It's
brain
me.
created this
I
and
know.
like and it's attracting, great readers. So
And just the fact that you were able to get a book out of you, like that to me seems like such a huge accomplishment. I'm like, how do you sit down and do a book start to finish? That's incredible.
it's great when you can turn on 90s music and be inspired.
Yes, love it. Okay, so let's talk then a little bit about parenting teenagers. So, like, what are some of the struggles with parenting teenagers? How do you navigate that?
Well, so it's interesting. I know you like to ask people what their burnt pancake moment is, and I
Mm-hmm.
have way too many of them. It's too long, but it really does tie into the time when my parenting style with our girls really shifted. So when our oldest daughter, who's 18 now, when she was in sixth grade, she had gone from in elementary school being just this really outgoing, bubbly, helpful, award-winning kid doing great in um, all of her studies rather. And then she got to middle school. She had 7 classes, 2 lockers, and her ADHD had always been unmedicated at that point because we didn't want to medicate her too soon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like she hit a brick wall.
Oh.
She couldn't keep up with the assignments. She would leave something in the car or in the locker, and then they'd give her detention if she needed to go get it. She was getting in trouble all the time, and she just started shrinking inside and retreating to her room and becoming angry and becoming very just distant. At the same time, I was having meetings with the administrators at the school, trying to get a 504 plan. I was setting up doctor's appointments and pediatrician's appointments and psychiatrist appointments to try and get her medicated, and was trying to figure all this out. And I was so frustrated that this kid that I was doing all this for was
Mm-hmm.
just pulling away further and further from me. And at one point, I just remember sitting there in the afternoon and asking myself, like, what do I want at the end of all of this? Like, 20 years from now, what will be the most important thing to me? Because I had been parented, as I mentioned before, I was highly academic. And so I was really pushed to be performative
Mm-hmm.
academically. Um, so I had always thought, like, well, you have to get good grades because you're smart. Like, I can help you get your homework done. I can keep you organized. And by doing that, I wasn't seeing what she really needed. She needed to know that I was her advocate for whoever she was,
Mm-hmm.
however her life turned out, no matter what. And I realized in that moment, all I wanted at the end was a relationship with my daughter. I didn't care if she went to college or didn't go to college, if she found her passion at 12 or she found her passion at 42. It wouldn't matter to me as long as she knew that she could always talk to me, that I would always be a safe place for her, that I was always on her side. And suddenly, like all of the tension around whether she turned in her homework or whether she had, been late to class melted away. And I was like, well, all right, that's okay, but we're still in this together, right? And it,
Mhm.
to this day now, where she's graduating high school and of her own accord, really truly, she did it all on her own, is going to a 4-year university in New York next fall. And
Wow.
she's extremely talented in film and television and fashion design and like the makeup for film. I just see that she blossomed as soon as I gave her the space to figure out who she was. And she is not my kid who gets straight A's. The other one is, but that doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I needed to figure out that she just needed me to show her unconditional love and support. And now that I've, many years ago now, accepted that as my main priority, the whole way that I parent both of my kids is different. Including my younger one is very academic, very high anxiety about getting A's on everything, being a starter on the basketball team. She's very she just took her driver's test and she had to pass the first time. There would be no accepting anything less than passing the first time. And my way of parenting is that same thing of, okay, well, I love you no matter what you get on this test. My support, I'm so proud of you for working so hard, but I'm here to encourage you to get a good night's sleep and not stay up until 2 a.m. That it's okay to give yourself more grace and space to just be a teenager because you don't get this time back.
Right. I bet that was so hard though to step back and because I mean, I have a almost an 11-year-old and I do feel like I'm just trying to control it still. Like he doesn't really care too much about school and I'm trying to make him and it's like that's where we get into our butting heads like I want you to care. I want you to, and he's just like it's fine. It's fine, mom. I got a C. Isn't that great? I'm like, ah!
It's funny. I don't know if your husband and you have the same personalities or not, but my husband has ADHD, and I didn't know him in his high school years, but his parents really struggled with parenting him in his high school years. He wouldn't get out of bed. He was late to school all the time. He was very disorganized. He didn't turn in a lot of things, and he turned out highly
Turned out
successful.
just
And
fine.
he just kept reminding me, as long as we can get her safely through high school, if we can just keep her foundation solid for her and just safely through high school, she's going to rule the world someday. She's just
Oh,
not going to be able to convince her brain to care about things she doesn't care about, like trigonometry. Like she doesn't
right.
care about trigonometry and she never will. That's okay.
Yeah. And sometimes we look at like our society and our school system and it's like it's kind of made for one type of person, but there are lots of different personalities out there. And there are
Absolutely.
boys who won't sit through class. Like I'm looking at that and thinking like it's not made for them to sit all day, but you're right. Just get them through. And I'm backing off now. I used to teach, so I'm like homework needs to be turned in. Da 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 da. But the other week we took a family vacation and I just said, we're missing school. And that's okay. And we had a great time. And that's our priority is like we had a good family time.
Yeah, because you figured out that the priority was that family time. I think
Mhm.
too often as parents, we believe that our children are a reflection of us. And so if they
Yes.
don't turn in their homework, it's because we failed. If
Yes.
they can't get their spelling words right, it's because we didn't hold them accountable to it, right?
Hmm.
And I think we really need to step back and say, our children are not a reflection of us. We show them how to live in this world, but they make choices. They have free will as well, and they will live in this world the way that they want to. And it's whether we're going to be alongside them as a partner in that, or we're going to expect them to figure it out on their own. And just like the book, I want them to
Yeah.
know that we'll be their partner in that.
Right.
but they don't want to be a reflection of us either, even though
No.
eventually, as they grow up, like we have, they'll figure out they're actually so much like us. And
Yeah.
we are just like our own parents. They'll figure it out, but they don't want that as they're coming into their teen years and through their
Mhm.
teen years. They want to be an individual and they want to be seen as an individual. So the less we can consider everything they do to be a reflection on us, I think the healthier it is for our relationships with our kids.
Oh my God, that's such a gold nugget, especially like I thought that when they were little and they would get in trouble at the playground. Well, in trouble, they're just being themselves, they're being active and physical. And I was like, oh, my kids are the ones that are always getting in trouble. It's me. I'm not parenting them right. But they were just active, physical boys. Like that's who they are. And when I do look at my older son, he talks back the way I talk back. Like we're very like I need to have the last word. He has to have the last word. I'm like, we're so similar.
Yeah.
And I need to just let him be, let him be.
It's
Mm.
funny when I was listening to your episode on embarrassing moments, and it brings up all my own embarrassing moments. I think that we do feel that embarrassment because, again, it's that reflection on us. And like a
Mhm.
kid who's talking back to an adult, like, no, you're not supposed to talk back to an adult.
Yes.
But I agree, we need to, rein that in a little bit. But at the same time, like, what about this confident, brave person who has their voice and can use it
Hmm.
and speak it with honesty and truth? That's something to be proud of. That confidence is great. Just
Yeah.
knowing how to appropriately apply it, but that's what they're figuring out, right?
Right. It's going to take him somewhere. One day that's going to be a great asset. Oh my gosh, so true. What about like talking to girls? How do you get, because I know a lot of parents of teenagers say their teens don't feel like parents listen to them. Like,
Mhm.
how do you open up communication and make sure your teen feels comfortable talking to you about things?
That's a great question, and I'm gonna bring out a little pop culture reference here. Like if you listen to Ted Lasso, if you watch Ted Lasso,
Yes,
you'll
yes.
know the quote in which he talks about being curious rather than judging. I think for me with
Mhm.
my kids, I and with their friends, I've positioned myself as somebody that they can talk to because instead of passing judgment, instead of being critical all the time, I try to be curious. So there, there are moments in teenagers' lives, and my oldest one went through it in her sophomore year of high school, where they get invited to parties and they get exposed to things that you don't want them exposed to. Maybe they hang out with people you don't want them to
Mhm.
hang out with. Instead of jumping to this conclusion that my kid is a bad kid and they've done all these terrible things, instead of I'm going to punish you and lock you in your room forever and you're never going to get out, like Rapunzel, instead just asking the question like, so how did you feel when you were at this party and you realized that this kid's parents had no idea that he was throwing a party, and that um, we might find out, how did that feel, and how did it feel seeing somebody that you had so much respect for, one of your friends, get so drunk that she was like being fondled by somebody on the couch that she hadn't given permission. Like, I
Mm.
know you got mad at him, but how did that feel looking at her that way also? Like, what do you think should happen in the future? How can you help your friends make better choices, and how can you make the right choices for yourself so you don't find yourself in that position? I think curiosity is a much better way to approach the relationships with teenagers, because it shows that you recognize that they might not have actually wanted to be in that position,
Mhm.
or you're giving them at least permission to share with you how they got there and why they got there, and if that was what they wanted in the first place.
Right. I'm
So,
so impressed that you're so open with them. Like that's what I hope I can be like with my kids. I was not super open with my parents. Not that they weren't willing to. I just didn't ever feel like I wanted to talk to them about anything. We recently had to have the sex talk with my older son,
mhm.
and I was kind of like, "Okay, Katie, we can do like we're gonna do this." And we did. We had the full talk and I let him ask questions and I said, "Hey, if anything comes up," and he's since then been like, "What's this, mom?" And I'm like, but
Yeah.
I had to psych myself up for it. I'm like, we're gonna be open. We're gonna share. Like I want him to be able to come to me with things. So I'm so impressed that you were able to have those conversations with your
Well, and it
girls.
is so important that you did have that conversation and that he knows he can ask you those questions, because the
Mhm.
reality is those questions are going to be there whether you like it or not, and he's
Yeah.
going to find the answers from somewhere. Wouldn't you rather he gets
Come to
those
me
answers from you?
or my
Yeah.
dad. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
have a couch that has stains on it from kids who have puked on it when they were brought here instead of being allowed to drive home.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
don't love that aspect of it, but I do love that those kids were safe. And I
It
love
was a safe place.
that
Hmm.
they knew they could be safe here and that they were taken care of until they were able to be home.
Hmm.
And I think I will always choose that over the alternative of being the strict, angry, trying to control parent, because I recognize that it doesn't work. You just like you can't force a
Hmm.
child to use the potty when they're a
Right?
toddler. You can't make them go to the bathroom when you want them to. You can't force a teenager to not have these instincts and desires that they have. So it's much better that they have a safe place to talk about it and to learn the healthy ways to move forward in life with those instincts.
Right. I love it. This is really eye-opening because I mean I'm heading towards that. They're my fifth grader is gonna be in sixth grade next year and then junior high. Like it just seems like it's going so fast. And I do want to
Yes.
prepare myself for that stage. Ugh. How
Uh,
are you preparing yourself for your daughter leaving? Is that
I'm
mixed
trying to
feelings? Are
be
you okay with it?
yeah, I'm trying to be really excited. I am thrilled for her in so many ways, because this is her dream, and she's gonna be able to experience it coming true very, very soon. I am trying to look forward to getting to visit her in New York City and
Mhm.
spend time with her, in her world that she's creating for herself. And I'm also trying to remind her that no matter what happens in her college experience, it's all going to turn out okay. I happen to have been a freshman who went straight to UCLA as a pre-med major, and then had a professor say to me, you're a freshman in an upper division English classes and you're leading the discussions. You're not a bio major. Like
Wow.
you're an English major. And realizing that that was the first time I had permission to follow what I wanted.
You wanted.
And I shifted gears and I transferred schools, and I went to a small liberal arts school midway through, but I also took classes at UC San Diego, and I also studied abroad in Salzburg,
Mhm.
Austria. And I hope that both of my girls know that no matter where they set out for college, no matter if they finish all 4 years in the same place or they go everywhere like I did, that it's going to be okay. And they're going to have a beautiful experience figuring out who they are and the adult life they want to have.
Yeah. Do you have plans? Are you taking her to school when she
Oh,
goes?
yes. I mean, we haven't had it figured out all together yet. But we've made deposits and we're meeting with housing department. And
Gosh.
so that'll be in September. Yeah, we'll go out.
How are your girls close? Like, will it be hard for them to be
They
separated?
are close in the way they're less than 2 years apart. They
Mhm.
are a lot of their friends have siblings that's the same other age, and so they have a lot of mutual friends that way. They both played basketball, so they both hung out with a lot of the same people. And I think it will be really hard for the young one to not have her older sister around, just
Mhm.
because she's used to, when she's frustrated with me, going to her sister. And that option won't be here anymore. Um, but I think she's excited to have a little, time with just mom and dad and not have the
Yeah.
competition. I think I'm anticipating that they will get a little closer from the distance, that they'll reach out to each other more over the phone and Zoom. And I'm so excited for my younger daughter to hop on a plane by herself to go stay
I
with
was
her
gonna say
sister
go
in New
visit
York.
her. Oh my gosh,
Yes,
how
I think it'll be
fun.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So looking back at your journey, what's one lesson about motherhood you could share with us?
Expect the unexpected, I guess. I really am glad to be a teen mom now. I did not think that I would be a stay-at-home mom. I had really thought I loved my career before my kids were born, and I thought I would, do my maternity leave and be right back there. And I fell so in love with that baby and didn't want to leave her
Mhm.
with other people. And we were blessed to be in a situation where we could make the bills, get paid with me still at home. And so my, everything shifted. And then again, when I thought I was going back to work and I didn't, like, I still could make the best of each of those situations, and expecting the unexpected, in terms of um, each of my girls' personalities changing with each passing year, each passing stage of hormones and everything. And just learning to go with it, I've become a much more flexible person. And I think that that's actually a much happier, peaceful place for me to be too. So
Yeah, love that. Okay. When we need to get your book, where's the best place as an author? Where's the best place to get your book?
while I understand that everybody really wants to support me, and that's so great, I think, thank you. It is available everywhere, Amazon, Audible, Barnes and Noble. I happen to have book signings at lots of bookstores.
Oh, how exciting.
This weekend at Huntington Beach, Bella Terra, Barnes and Noble. But I really encourage you to support your local bookstores and your local libraries by getting it that
Okay.
way. So I will be giving you, Katie, the information where they can just give the ISBN number to their local bookstore and order it directly, or their local library if they don't want to, buy it themselves. It still supports authors to get it through the library. And I really love that libraries are out there supporting our communities with books available to them. So
Love that. Well, thank you. I just love this conversation with you. I think you have so many great things to share about motherhood. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been so great talking to you about it.
I hope you enjoyed all of those amazing nuggets we got from Jamie today. I really, really enjoyed talking to her. I think we connected on the whole 90s thing and just getting her insights on what's ahead in my future for teens. So I loved speaking with her. I am going to get off right now and order her book. And I think we should all do a little virtual book club. So if you are interested, I'm going to put a link below in the description. Not sure how fast I'll read the book, but let's say hopefully by May or June, anyone who's read the book with me can hop on a Zoom call and we'll chat about it, reminisce those days of high school. So check the link below if you want information about the book club, because I'm reading the book and I'd love to talk about it with all of you. So until next week, I hope everyone remembers that everyone burns their first pancakes. So just keep flipping.